It was in the 1980s, during the Cold War, that I had been invited to Warsaw, Poland. It was grim, it was cloudy, it was cold, the Soviet presence already there, very much so, in the early 80s. And I was taken to another city where I was speaking to the Polish gathering. And one day, a man by the medical doctor said to me, "Ravi, have you ever been to Auschwitz?" I said to him, "Yes, I've been to some concentration camps, Buchenwald and Dachau." He said, No. This is a death camp. Have you ever been to a death camp? I said, "I don't think so." He said, "Let me take you there." So we drove. Emotionally, I was totally unprepared for what I was going to see. Totally unprepared. Because Buchenwald, Dachau, and all, as much as they show you something, didn't show you what Auschwitz does. And as I walked in there, from room to room, the only response is pin drop silence. You see the pictures of young boys that had been castrated by Mengele, standing there as twins photographed like this, with skeletons and their skin tied taut around them, vacant, empty eyes. And you look at what the most educated generation then did to humanity. In one room, there was 14,000 pounds of women's hair stashed behind glass. When the women were taken into the gas ovens, they were stripped of their hair, which was then put into sacks and sold in the marketplace to make money out of all of this. 14,000 pounds of that hair still remained behind glass. They were being exterminated in Auschwitz at the rate of 12,000 every day. They'd be stripped naked and taken into the gas rooms, which they were told were actually their showers. And they'd be so tightly packed against each other, flesh to flesh, already just skin and bones. And they would not know what was coming. They were told they were going to get their first shower, and all this while, shaven bald, standing shoulder to shoulder, and the spigots would be turned on. And the gas would start to descend, and somebody would scream, "Gas!" Another 12,000 shoveled out of there. And I remember walking out of there thinking to myself, this is what we are capable of, even listening to the best music under the world and going to the highest educational systems. But I missed something in that. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the problem of evil is not so much that it's so pervasive and so strong out there, but the fact that it is deep inside your heart and mine too. Viktor Frankl, who served twice in Auschwitz as a prisoner, says this: if we present man with a concept of man which is not true, we may well corrupt him. When we present him as an automaton of human reflexes, as a mind machine, as a bundle of instincts, as a pawns of drives and reactions, as a mere product of heredity and environment, we will feed the nihilism to which he is already prone. I became acquainted with the last stage of corruption in my second concentration camp, Auschwitz. The gas chambers of Auschwitz were the ultimate consequence of the theory that man is nothing but the product of heredity and environment, or as the Nazis like to say, of blood and soil. Listen to this statement now. I'm absolutely convinced that the gas chambers of Auschwitz, Treblinka, and Majdanek were ultimately prepared not in some ministry or other in Berlin, but rather at the desks and lecture halls of nihilistic scientists and philosophers. Not behind the Ministry of Defense in Berlin, but at the desks and the lecture halls of nihilistic scientists and philosophers. The theory of relativism today is being presented in the highest institutes of our learning, producing a whole generation of young men and women who no longer believe that there are absolutes. That's where it's happening. The early stages of corruption may be behind lecterns. The end stages is the devaluation, the dehumanization, the denigration, and ultimately the desensitization of your conscience and mind.